Hello, and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Neo Yokio, which we'll be talking about today. I'm your host, Alex Bonilla, and today I'm joined by Sam Quattro.
Hi, I'm sick.
And Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
Today we will be discussing specifically the newly released Christmas special titled Pink Christmas that you can currently find on Netflix. We have previously talked about Neo Yokio, and you can find that discussion at overlyanimated.com. And you can also subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes, on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated, and wherever you listen to us, we always appreciate any ratings and reviews you want to leave us. But yeah, it's been a bit since we've been able to talk about Neo Yokio. That came out more than a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And then out of the blue, there's a Christmas special out. So
wow,
it's been a bit. I don't know. Now that we're a year separated from it, what were your memories of Neo Yokio before watching this?
Jaden Smith.
Yep.
Toblerones.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
No, that's about it. Just Toblerones. I bought a Toblerone at the store the other day because I was like, oh, we're gonna podcast about Neo Yokio. I better go get a Toblerone, right?
That's a lot of commitment, Sam.
It's just a little one. It's not like a huge ass one.
But still.
So you're saying Neo Yokio contributed to your brand awearness?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
That was probably part of their plan.
Yeah. So we've been a bit without Neo Yokio, but then we have this hour-long Christmas special that pops up on Netflix, and we're going to talk about that since it's in the season. We did talk about season 1 of Neo Yokio, and there's more Neo Yokio to talk about. So I guess we'll begin with the general thoughts about what you guys thought about this, how it compares to what you remembered of Neo Yokio from a while ago, and like what stood out to you. Well, Michelle, we'll go to you first. How did you feel watching this?
So I remember when Neo Yokio first came out, and it seemed like a fascinatingly strange show. But now that it's been over a year and this has come out, it's kind of reminded me, oh, this is all utter nonsense. Like, there's no point to this, but it does exist. And there are some funny jokes, but ultimately it doesn't matter at all. And that was kind of my big takeaway. And maybe that's partially just because it's framed as a story. And the way that story wraps up is also just like kind of a lot and very ridiculous for the sake of being funny. But I mean, this isn't the kind of thing that I feel like is going to be a staple Christmas ritual for me in years to come. I'll put it that way. I think once was enough seeing this.
Aw, okay, fine. Neo Yokio did not take roots in your heart. That's fine. Sam, over to you. How did you feel about watching this?
Honestly, I think I liked it better than the entire first season.
Whoa. Okay.
I know, right? Okay, so think of it this way. We're like more than a year removed from that first season. I was like, okay, let me listen back to our Neo Yokio podcast a little bit, see what my opinions were. Turns out I really hated it. Or at least I think that's the impression I got out of my passive aggression there. I was like, okay, well, let's watch the Pink Christmas thing, see how it is. I think it works much better. I think when Neo Yokio is more condensed and not like however many episodes and trying to do like a whole big storyline, when it's just like an hour special, it works. You know, so it could just do that in the future. Just be shorter and have more of a singular or maybe 2 or 3 connecting threads and not try to do like a bunch of bullshit like they were doing in season 1. I don't know, I had a good time. You know, I enjoyed the jokes. I got a lot of screen capable moments out of it, of course. I thought it was good. I enjoyed watching it.
Okay. And I think I lean toward your side, Sam, because honestly, I feel like I enjoyed this more than I remembered enjoying the first season of Neo Yokio. Like, I feel like it's a lot more over the top.
Yeah.
In part because of the, like, we introduced from the beginning, like, hey, add a little bit of whimsy to this story. And, like, it does feel a little bit more like we're actually making use of the setting of this being some weird New York, Tokyo myths with demons and stuff. Like, it kind of actually feels like that this time, as opposed to like season 1. Also, I think that a lot of the focus being on the clerk character, I'm a little biased towards enjoying it because like it is voiced by a person, Richard Ayoade, who I wanted more of in season 1, and like he actually got stuff.
Oh, you got
in
it.
This show, yeah. So like, okay, well, like I got my wish, hooray! I'm not sure if that was a good wish in the end, but like at least it was fun to see in the moment. Arcangelo is like so over the top, and like I think that this is probably the best use of him just being a total troll through and through. But,
he was my favorite part of the entire thing, I will say. I enjoyed him a lot.
Yeah, and like this entire show, including season 1, is like full of superficial complaints about the hipstery culture. But this is like, it feels almost on another level in terms of just like, hey, branding's stupid, but we're gonna do it anyway because it makes us money, sort of thing. Like, I don't know, it felt a lot like even more transparent and over the top and superficial to the point where like now it's okay, as what you said, Sam, like season 1 is stretching all that stuff across 6 episodes or 7 episodes or whatever it was, but like this is 1 hour. It's like, okay, well that's my allotment for the month or year in terms of like this kind of like to hammer on the nail commentary. So yeah, I overall enjoyed it. I think maybe there are some parts that like dragged, but otherwise I think that this is probably the direction that Neo Yokio should go in if they want to be better.
I think it's definitely more tongue-in-cheek than the first season, and more, like you said, more transparent. It's kind of like that scene in Wayne's World where they're doing like, I won't bow down to our corporate overlords, while like Mike Myers is eating a Pizza Hut pizza and being like wink wink at the camera.
Yeah.
It's not a problem having brands and stuff in your creative things. I mean, every single thing does it. And it's kind of unavoidable, unfortunately, in the culture that we live in. I guess the thing is, how you do it, if it vibes well with other people. Usually, when, people have brand tie-ins, it's really obnoxious in your face, but when it's more of a joke, and when it's more like, hey, we know that we're being ridiculous with this Domino's pizza watch, people be like, hey, I hashtag relate with that, I eat Domino's pizza, I think that's fucking ridiculous. But, in the end, that's where you get stuff like, the Denny's Tumblr, and like, everybody being all dank meme on Twitter with their brands, trying to get into the, cultural pulse of the children and what they're into. And, capitalism, that's a problem that I don't fully enjoy, but it isn't super duper distracting in this way, and I guess I kinda am falling for oh hey, I recognize that brand, I bought a Toblerone at the store just because I saw it on Neo Yokio, I guess it works. Right?
And it's like the shoving of like fake anti-capitalism that maybe also exists in real life, like people saying like, I'm against, like, capitalism is dumb, but we don't really make any effort to move out of the system itself. And like, this show kind of like just pushes that all the way forward with like Arcangelo being like, fuck material goods.
Fuck material goods, yeah.
You're like, buy my tickets, like.
Yeah, buy my tickets, use this code on my podcast, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I think there is like some good commentary happening on there, but it's a really tangled web to weave in. When you're accepting, I assume, things from like Toblerone and Domino's to have their products featured. And you have the whole thing with the Caprese Martini stuff. And you have the whole thing with Arcangelo, like you're trying to make a commentary, but you're also bowing down to those same type of corporations. So it's like, I don't know. Where does that leave us?
Well, I think maybe that's the thing that made this a little more successful potentially than the first season, because one thing I feel like the show was sometimes trying to do was have an objective moral conscience, and that really backfired for me. Whereas I feel like this time they're really not taking any of those things very seriously, and they're kind of playing into the tropes without having a strong opinion about them either way, and that's a much better choice. I think it was strongly used here this time.
Well, if anything, I feel like it's going the more cynical route of, hey, what does it matter? It makes us money sort of thing. We'll just keep working in that system. Because that's how it ends up in terms of, like, Archangelo's stuff. Like, he succeeds. He gets all the money. Of course, everyone dies, but, like, our final shot is, like, him winking at the camera. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like I agree with your thought that it doesn't really have a moral conscience anymore of like trying to criticize it, but
right.
Like I think it's going like the total opposite way of just being like, yeah, this is just how it works, man. Like everyone makes money.
Yeah, we're cool.
Yeah, it's like we pretend to be like that this sucks, but we're making money off of it, so what do we care, kind of thing. And like thinking about it logically, it's like, ew, that's kind of a terrible way to think. But it does it in like such an over-the-top way that it feels more palatable that way.
Right, like it doesn't take it so seriously anymore, and that's what doesn't backfire.
Mm-hmm. Now, but this stuff is also like in the backdrop of using this clerk who I don't think we even knew his name before this show, or I've forgotten. Like he has a name, Herbert. And like we're framing this around him just loving his job. Like that's like another thing that I feel like we've talked about in other episodes that you can listen to our OKKO podcast about the glories of retail. But yeah, like another theme of someone who's working and then he's harmed by this boycott, and he gets fired by an anime girl who is the CEO of this company.
Yes.
I just really want to highlight this anime girl because it's like this is the kind of stuff that I think Neo Yokio should be doing more of, like just leaning into its anime-ness as opposed to like pretending it's like still a New York hipstery thing. I don't know.
What was her name? Bergdorf-chan?
It was something amazing like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. We should get Dylan to watch this.
or
just based on that alone.
Yeah.
Or just use that avatar and be like, hey, like, what's that show?
I should do that.
What anime is that from? Oh, it's from Neo Yokio.
Man.
It's the new
Good idea,
anime.
Alex. I'm gonna do that right now.
It was your idea all along.
But yeah, so that was pretty great. And then he's pretty much decides to kill himself because he's lost his job, and then he gets used for the story. But like that whole line is also like another example of kind of the fake anti-capitalism message that this is going for. It's like, hey, this person's enslaved to the man sort of thing. But at the same time, he's happy. So like, I don't know, like. I feel bad for him in a way, even if like the show is like, you should have left that a long time ago, sort of thing.
Well, yeah, it's that whole thing where it's like, oh, I work so much that I don't have any time to think about all the wrong shit in my life, which is like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But like, it sucks that it has to be that way. But I get the distracting yourself to like not think about things and throwing yourself in your work, even though it's really shitty work, and people treat retail workers like dogs, essentially. But anyway, I digress. Keep going.
No, it's true, and also like he gives up himself in this show. Like he serves himself as like a knight. He like gets on one knee to like offer to help Kaz. Kaz is like, okay, sure. Like so he just gives himself to his work, and I think that's like, if you want to live your life that way, that should be valid, and it feels sort of weird that we're criticizing that, especially considering all the anti-capitalism fake stuff that's going on here. But that exists in this story. And then we have like all the way the other side of Arcangelo. Michelle, you mentioned briefly that he was your favorite. What did you like about him most of this episode?
It's just so easy to ship him with Kaz at this point, and I feel like they're the only two that really have any kind of chemistry for each other in this entire show. And the fact that he has this weird fixation with trying to best Kaz all the time, there's a lot there to kind of chew on, and I like that aspect of the show. And the fact that the majority of the plot basically centered on them trying to best each other, getting the perfect Secret Santa present, which is such a Like, that is the kind of hashtag first world problems that these two young boys would have to deal with. Like, this is what their catastrophe life is.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the anime trope of, like, the two guys being kind of mad at each other all the time, and they eventually get, like, chemistry somehow out of it. Or just, I guess just, like, a general media thing of that. But yeah, like, and then they, like, give gifts to each other, and the spotlight is on them and stuff. And then he's, like, also pops up at dinner with him, so it's like they can't get away from each other.
Yeah, Archangelo is in love with him.
Mm-hmm. Sam, you're also into this ship?
Uh-huh, yep.
He's definitely kind of obsessed. That's undeniable.
I think the part that seals it for me is that at the final shot is him passing by Santa and he just goes wink, like, but like directly at Kaz. So, like, it's a perfect ending. And of course, like the gay part of just pulling out a guitar to sing for your the apple of your eye. The music in this special is something to be pointed out. Friend Like You is the song that gets first performed by Archangelo on electric guitar. That's there's like a minute of that, and then Kaz, as voiced by Jaden Smith, his thing is he doesn't want to rap for Archangelo, but he ends up showing up and rapping a version of that song, sort of anyway. And yeah, how do you guys feel about the inclusion of just like full on songs in this special?
I mean, it makes sense because Ezra. Whatever, like he's in Vampire Weekend, and Jaden Smith's a rapper nowadays too, so it makes sense. I can see it.
Did you enjoy the songs though?
No.
You're like, I understand it. Doesn't mean I loved it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I think Jason the Schwartzman, who also voices Archangelo, is also a musician in various ventures. So yeah, it makes sense. But I didn't care too much for the songs. I don't really want to listen to this particular type of music, but good for them for putting it in, you know. A for effort.
Okay, celebrating their effort. That's a good take, I guess. Michelle, how did you feel about the musical performances here?
They were fine. The rapping wasn't as bad as I was afraid it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a plus in its own way.
Yeah, I will say that I kind of enjoyed the rap song. I especially like that when it like switches to being a chase scene through the subway. I kind of like the choice of like
still hear it.
Yeah, like keeping the rap song going as they're doing the following them chasing each other down underground. Like I like that piece of animation choices, so that was fine. Him pulling Archangelo pulling out the guitar in a dark room for Kaz was that whole action was pretty cool, but the song itself is kind of middling. But I just like the idea of him like, I'm just gonna give you a song.
That's the gift that keeps on giving.
It truly is.
No, it's equity. Equity is the gift that keeps on giving.
What, like the royalties that he'll give for the song, that's the thing?
Oh, there you go. That could be his own equity.
Equity is the thing, yeah. I just realized that. and then the thing, I'm stupid, I'm sorry. But, you know, you can still get... Never mind. I'm busy changing myself in the Bergdorf channel on Discord right now.
I'm glad you're focused on the important things in life.
You're welcome.
Let's see here. There's a lot of like little pieces to point out here. A new character that is introduced in this is Aunt Angelique. She's
I love her.
Another story. Okay, what are your impressions of her, Sam?
She's so cool and like, just like the way she talks and like her general thing, and how she takes public transit because she's a writer, and that's how like.
Oh man!
I had a professor in college who was just like that. She'd like, I was going to go to Chicago for a weekend for one reason or another. I was taking a Greyhound, and she was like, Sam, you know, I got some of my best stories out of being on a Greyhound across the country. So you write down what happens. I'm like, thank you. I didn't. That trip was mostly uneventful.
She says that it's her favorite content platform.
It is.
Lots of mentions of content in this episode. And I love her introduction is pretty much her showing up at the airport. Kaz offering, "Can I take your luggage?" And she goes, "Hell no, motherfucker." So like,
pretty strong.
Yeah, a lot of just in general, this episode had a lot more fucks and dams than I remember it being.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part it wasn't that distracting. But yeah, but her introduction of "Hell no, motherfucker," like that actually worked really well. Michelle, how do you feel about Angelique in this?
I mean, I like her more than Agatha just because Agatha's so mean. It's not like Kaz, is without judgment or fault, but she's just always on him to be working. And at least Angelique's kind of meeting him in the middle a little there.
And, Angelique, it just has this rivalry going on with Agatha. I'll say Agatha is terrible in this episode.
She is. She's such a meanie.
When there's nothing to really motivate us to care about what's going on there. I don't remember much of her from season 1 in terms of her story, but it just feels like villainy for the sake of villainy there. Just being a hard ass. But yeah, Angelique is great, and down to their final showdown of them at a dinner table and they're magicking soup at each other. That was an odd
very
aside.
petty.
Yeah. I just want to point out Angelique is voiced by an African singer named Angelique Kidjo. So I think she hasn't really done any voice work before, but she's really good in this role. So
yeah, I agree.
I like the choice. Yeah, so Angelique is going around there. She's the one who brings the Toblerone, and that Toblerone ends up being empty as Kaz later opens it. And we also have a weird lore dump in this episode too, even though it's a Christmas special.
Yeah.
So these race of demon exorcists they're called in this show, but it turns out that they may be half demon. Also, this is a story being told by a mech robot.
So it's not real, presumably. We don't know if that's canon.
Yeah, it's a little confusing now. But...
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was just it's not going to be explored further, but
I don't know.
Yeah, I just wonder about the idea of just inserting important story information into a Christmas special that is basically just a story being told to a kid. I don't know what kind of a decision that is, but yeah. So
is Cad a kid? What Cad? Kaz a kid?
Yeah, he's a teenager. I'm pretty sure.
He's what?
18, 19, late teens.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be in his 20s, but he feels younger than that to me.
He does. He feels like he's I don't know. Anyway, that was just me clarifying.
Yeah. Well, also, if he's a demon, if he's half demon, then, does he age slower than
Ooh.
people?
Oh.
Interesting.
But once again, we're stuck in this not being a real thing, so it's I don't even know if this matters or not. I feel betrayed there, but a part of the demon thing is that there's this whole thing with a watch that can detect demonic presence, and that keeps getting detected, but it's because the clerk is possessed by a demon, and the demon resides in this weird pink structure that we go to several times, and both Kaz and the clerk turned into line cartoons sort of thing. Also, Kaz just says, "Good Lord, I'm a cartoon." Yeah, so they do these shorts, different animated sequences, and I feel this year has had a lot of shows doing trying to shake things up and making different sequences. So I don't know if it's just me being spoiled at this point, but I wasn't as impressed by this as other shows that have done it. But I at least appreciate that they're trying to go a little bit trippier in those sequences than usual. I don't know if those parts stuck out to you at all.
They're very hashtag aesthetic. I'll say that. I like the aesthetic of them. I like the color pink and I like the color white.
It's got both of those colors. So.
Yeah, it has both of those colors, so there you go.
Uh-huh. And
It's very vaporwave.
Well, and those are theoretically the themes, the main colors of the show, at least in the title card. Like it's pink and stuff, and
dude, get it? It's pink at Christmas because the thing happens.
Yeah, because the demon explodes and they all get drowned in pink.
They all die.
Yeah. If only more stories ended like that, just everyone dying.
I mean, technically that's how every story ends, unless it's about like fucking. Well, no, I guess everything has to end eventually.
Well, yeah, but like the story often ends with happily ever after, and you don't see the part where they die, you know. But like
that's what I would think sometimes when I was like reading Twilight or whatever, because the vampires are immortal, right? But what happens when 500 billion years from now, when the sun explodes, if they're still alive and the planet just like collapses, what happens? Like, do they just drift off into space?
Who knows? Maybe they go back to the pinkness, because that's what the demons say, right? They're like, before Neo Yokio, there was just pink. We were living in the pink. And then
I guess the pink was like the universe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The entire universe is pink, according to the demons.
Very aesthetic for it to be pink.
Related to the demon stuff, there's also a scene where there's like a party at somebody's house, and they're offering MDNA, which is not MDMA, but it's Molly mixed with demonic DNA. So there's this whole drug thing, and Kaz is like, well, I don't need drugs to have a good time.
I'm gonna drink this martini out of a can instead.
Exactly.
Yeah, but of course Archangelo, ever the charming troll, spikes Kaz's drink.
What an asshole!
No, the thing about that is, I think he genuinely is trying to get him to have a good time.
Yeah, but you don't fucking put something.
Well, yeah, because he's Archangelo, he's gonna mess it up. I think he honestly was like, "Oh man, Kaz, you gotta let go, let yourself loose for a little bit, have a real good time." So I appreciate that he was trying to be a friend, but yeah, it did not go well.
Yeah, so I think the moral of that scene was just, hey guys, I know we're having fun here and everything's trippy and there's demons and stuff, but don't do drugs. That's still bad. So,
drugs are bad.
Maybe. At least these kind of drugs where they're mixed with demonic stuff.
Yeah, don't do demonic drugs. That's especially bad for you.
Yeah. Speaking of the Caprese things, Kaz's friends are in this episode, but the only stuff they do is they keep trying to promote their Caprese Martini thing. And this also ties back to the whole capitalism is stupid message, where it goes from them selling it in a can and it sucks to them selling merch even though they don't have any product to sell, and then it just moves to them having a brand and you can take a selfie with it even though the brand is not connected to a product, but it's just, hey, branding is the most important thing after all. So
it is.
Is it though?
I don't know. Do you identify with any brands, Alex?
I don't think I do.
What about we're peddling brands for a brand right now.
Well, that's true. Overly animated.
Exactly. So I don't know.
No one's exempt. I think that's Sam's point. It's a little spooky.
Yeah, and I guess it's a question of, do we even have products or?
The podcast is the product.
Yeah. See, so we're better than them then.
Yeah, at least we have our product to sell, even though the podcasts are free.
Yeah, join our Patreon, guys.
There you go.
Speaking, by the way, the fact that we're a podcast talking about Neo Yokio, and Neo Yokio has a character with a podcast, and there are many podcast jokes in the episode, is, I did feel personally attacked at times, I will admit.
Yeah, listen to our podcast that you're listening to right now.
Well, it just, Archangelo is like, hey, I heard you like original content. You should check out my podcast. Have you ever told anyone in real life to check out your podcast?
I've casually mentioned that I'm on a podcast, but I don't like this sounds like so fucking terrible. Like, I sound like such a dick right now. Okay, so, like, people will be like, oh yeah, what are you doing after work? I'll be like, oh, I have a podcast and I'm on, that I have to be on, like, 2 hours. I'm like, oh cool, what's the podcast about? I was like, oh, it's about animation. And then they look it up. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't really like to advertise the fact that I'm on a podcast, but it just comes up sometimes.
Right.
I talked about it a lot when we did Shrek Retold, but normally I don't. I was just really excited about Shrek Retold.
No, so you gotta connect your brand to a bigger brand to, like, get it bigger.
Well, what brand should we connect this podcast to?
Well, Neo Yokio is gonna go through the roof, I'm sure.
So connect to Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix
Yeah.
sponsor our podcast.
Yeah.
What would that even look like? What would Netflix give us?
Toblerones for Christmas.
Yeah, probably.
Well, we're at the stage of media where, like, channels are buying, like, the rights to turn podcasts into TV shows. So, like, that's really the next step.
Yeah, what's that gonna look like? The overly animated TV show? Just us as Neo Yokio characters, essentially?
Well, Arcangelo's podcast is being I think it's being televised when he's, like, at his desk and is, like, giving offer codes to
That's a fucking talk show.
Well, what if that's what we look like in 20 years?
Oh, I hate it. No thanks. I'm gonna stick to my roots.
Be true, Sam.
Yeah, be true to myself.
But yeah, so the Archangel has a podcast, and later the Charles is giving Kaz a very comfy bath when a notification goes off. It's like, oh, I'm subscribed to Archangel's podcast, and the Kaz is like, fine, I'll listen to it. And yeah, he's advertising his show on his podcast. So that's also maybe a commentary on, like, what podcasts only exist maybe to promote other content.
Oh fuck, we do that too.
Yeah, because in a way we're promoting Neo Yokio right now, aren't we?
Yeah, but like at the end of every podcast, bro is like, oh, do you have something to plug? Blah 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 blah.
Oh yeah.
Not every podcast, but like.
Well, it's because podcasting should be a symbiotic relationship. We promote things that don't ever pay us, but then we also promote each other.
Yeah.
So that's pretty okay.
No, and you know what? Actually, talking through it, also the wholesome part of podcasting is that we do get to talk about things that we like with each other sometimes, and also we talk to people that we like and have grown friendships with, and like it gives us an opportunity to talk about things. So fuck capitalism. Podcasts can exist also independent of the terribleness of content creation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have the swagger that Arcangelo had in saying fuck capitalism, but we can't all be winners.
Material goods. Fuck material goods.
Yeah,
that was his chant.
We should end the podcast on that.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Hashtag podcast.
Hashtag fuck material goods.
Which is great because our podcast is not a material good, so we can still support it. And that's true to the hashtag.
We're just in the void right now.
We're in the
cloud.
like the brands. Brands are in the cloud. Let's see here. Is there any other weird stuff to talk about here? I guess just in general, I guess we probably should have brought this up at the beginning, but like the dialogue-ness of Neo Yokio was always weird in the first season, and it's still weird here. As Sam mentioned, like there's a lot of screen cappable moments. Yeah. So because like of the lines, like I have one written here of like Kaz seeing Archangelo, fiddlesticks. It's Archangelo. It's like, who says fiddlesticks? But all right. And then Archangelo's like, the stakes is hot, bitch. So it's like we go from one extreme of like wholesome talking that doesn't exist to like just throwing in bitches and fucks everywhere. So it's like all over the place.
I think it's become a little bit more charming now that we've lived with Neo Yokio for the better part of a year.
Yeah, we kind of expect it of Neo Yokio now, so it doesn't feel very jarring. It's kind of what the show is. If it had a brand that's part of the brand of the show.
That
yeah, so now it's very, like, oh, you.
It's like very memeable, that like that's the brand.
Yeah.
Well, what would be the biggest meme to come out of this episode?
This episode? Fuck material goods, obviously.
You think that's the one that's going to survive?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only one that like sticks out in my mind.
The Domino's Pizza Rolettes is maybe potential, but I don't know. Like in a similar way to the Toblerone from last season.
Yeah, they're good visual gags versus like line humor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, probably the biggest Neo Yokio meme besides Toblerones is the "I can still see you, bitch" with the David.
Yeah, that was such a good line. I love that.
Like I still see that being memed everywhere.
Have you kept seeing the "Do you mind if I vape" one?
No, I haven't seen that at all.
I haven't seen that in a while.
I remember that being hot for a second. We're missing Steve Buscemi in this one.
Oh yeah, he was a character at some point. You're just flooding all of my Neo Yokio memories back.
Oh yeah.
It's been a while.
Is there any other major stuff that you guys wanna point out here from this special that stuck out to you?
What else happened?
They talked about that Christmas goose for a while, I feel like, which was interesting. And me and Sam were like, is Christmas goose a thing? I thought like ham was like a Christmas thing. Goose thing become a Christmas thing?
I think duck is a thing. I've heard of people having duck at Christmas, but not goose.
I don't know. We're probably gonna get a comment like, "Oh my god, you fucking idiots!" Like 500 years ago, all they ate was Christmas goose. I can't believe you didn't know that.
That's the only bird they could find.
That's the only bird they could find in like fucking Yorkshire.
I do think Kaz, as his ants are fighting, he's like, "Ants, please, you're upsetting the Christmas goose."
Yeah, I like that line a lot.
There was like a throwback to that one girl who like was in the hospital.
Oh that his girlfriend? Like his rebound girlfriend, or were they just friends? I forget.
I think he wanted to get with her, and I don't know if she...
And she wanted to take down consumer society.
Yeah, but
that was sell her outfits to actual consumers.
That was the entire plot of the second half of last season.
Oh my fucking god, how did we forget?
Yeah, but wait, what was the callback though?
They were selling her dress, her hospital gown,
and her headband sash thing.
Oh.
Yeah, they were selling it at a Bergdorf's.
At like a fancy store for like thousands of dollars.
That didn't click for me. I was like, wait, why are we doing a hospital gown thing here?
Because it was the first season.
The thing. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Now that makes sense. Well, good for them that they want to put a callback to the anti-capitalist character from last season.
Yeah, we got so much more capitalism and anti-capitalism happening here.
The anti-capitalist character is being used to sell overpriced hospital gowns.
For a good cause, I assume.
Sure, for anime girls' enrichment.
Have you ever stolen a hospital gown from a hospital?
Do people do that?
I did.
Oh. Okay.
Sam did. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, RIP, like a couple years ago when I was in the ER because I thought I was having like a ruptured appendix. I stole a hospital gown. I don't have it anymore, unfortunately, but I did for a while.
Would have been a good memory.
Yeah, the memory of when I thought I was dying.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we already talked about the demon stuff. Like basically, he possesses the clerk into being a demon, and then they have this final showdown in the underground. Kaz is like, I'm not gonna kill you because then that will release the big demon. And then Ant shows up and is like, I'm gonna kill him anyway, what does it matter? And then Kaz's like, why didn't you tell me the truth, Ant? And Ant's like, because you're a pussy. And it's like, he kills the demon turns into pinkness, everyone dies. The end. Yeah, so the Ant is dumb there, for some reason. And
because it's a story.
Yeah. Oh, and there's this meta ending of like the Kaz being like, "What the fuck, Charles? Like, what kind of a story is this? And why leave room for interpretation?" Because like we are also asking that question of like, why? How do we know any of this is real? Sort of thing.
Ambiguity.
Yeah.
And then Charles hops out of the suit.
Yeah, the person inside of Charles, I think her name is Sadie, if I recall correctly, and she's like, I gotta go to mass.
Yeah, midnight mass is a thing, I think. don't remember.
Interesting that Christmas exists. I feel like I say this in everything where Christmas exists, but interesting that Christmas exists in this universe where demons also are like real. So it's like,
yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like if Jesus is actually real, then why are like demons still a problem?
I wonder if like they thought about that world building thing, or if they're just like, oh, they just have Christmas because.
Although at the very beginning, when he's like when Charles is like, "I'll tell you a Christmas story. Let me read you the Book of Matthew." Abraham begets Isaac. So the Bible exists in this universe too.
I guess the demons just came along, probably around the 1800s, 1700s or so. Like, hey, we're here. So you had that couple hundred years of Christianity to sink into the world. So we have Christmas.
Yeah, this is an alternate universe that probably falls apart the more we think about it, but yeah.
Yeah, best not to dwell on the inner musings of Neo Yokio.
Mm-hmm. Just as its themes are superficial in nature, so thus must be our analysis of the show. I
mean, Domino's Pizza exists in this universe. I mean, anything.
And apparently they treat their employees very well because they give them watches if they stay around long enough. That's great, according to...
Yeah, Domino's watch.
Yeah.
Do you want a Domino's watch? Is that like the pinnacle of the world?
I would kind of prefer a Pizza Hut watch, to be honest with you, but,
Ew. What about a Little Caesars watch?
Oh, Michelle coming out of left field with Little Caesars.
Yeah.
I would settle for a Domino's watch.
But see, capitalism is not about settling. It's about fighting for what you want and paying all the money to get it.
Yeah. God, whose Secret Santa gift was the best? How about that?
Yeah, I guess that was a thing that happened. Like, we actually televised the Secret Santa thing, and there's like an announcer and everything.
Yeah, like it's a sport.
Yeah. So, let's see. Do I have what stuff there was? There's a
Someone
Mercedes with stocks.
Yeah. I think the car is the best gift.
Yeah, the other one was I think like a 50-year-old wine or something, or a cognac. Mm-hmm. It was a cognac.
Yeah.
Do you remember any other gifts?
I think there were only two before it got to Kaz. Honestly,
yeah, the shares for BMW.
It was Mercedes-Benz, but yes.
Cars.
Yeah,
cars are things.
Cars. Let us not let the branding obsess my head. No, stop. Get out of my head. Okay.
Cars are things that I know about.
We should just call them cars. Generic car brand there.
Generic car brand. Equity. Yeah. Cool.
And then Kaz tries to give the watch, and the Archangel's like, "Fuck that! I'll just play you a song." I think at this point we've covered pretty much everything here. So, final thoughts before we begin wrapping up here?
I don't think I would watch it again super soon. Alright, okay,
I happen to agree.
I know I said that I liked it, but I need some time. Maybe I'll watch it in like July.
Give it some time.
So like I'll watch the BoJack Christmas special every couple months. Like I'll watch it in like June, and then I'll watch it closer to Christmas. So maybe it'll be the thing with the Neo Yokio one if it ever comes back into my consciousness after this podcast.
Okay, well, just a reminder, season 2 will probably exist, so it will at some point.
Will it exist? Has it been like officially announced?
I don't know.
Oh, fuck, we should look it up.
Yeah, we should. Michelle, what are your final thoughts on this?
Capitalism is bad, but I think we all need it sometimes. Not at all that is a takeaway of this show, but I think it could still be true in general.
Okay, so solid, level-headed analysis. I like
it's nearly impossible to escape capitalism.
Yeah, it's hard to escape it. That's a even more true way to talk about it.
In the society that we live in.
Yeah.
I guess this special poses that while capitalism has to exist, maybe, but that doesn't mean we need to dive headfirst into it or make it our entire lives, because then we end up being enslaved to the anime girl who leads our company, or or forcing people to listen to our podcast to get free coupons for our musical shows.
To be fair, we don't do coupons or anything.
Yeah, maybe we should.
But we did. I don't know. We should talk to Dylan about that, I guess.
But yeah, so in general, I think that this does end up being an entertaining piece of Neo Yokio, and I'm more likely to rewatch this than I am anything from season 1. So I'll go with that. And yeah, like if it does feel like an anti-Christmas special. Like if I wanted to watch something to be like, hey, Christmas is dumb, then I might put on this. Like this seems like a good candidate for that. But like if I want to watch something alone, I don't think I'd probably watch this again.
What would you watch?
I don't know. Like I'm generally lacking Christmas media, but I mean,
I'd probably just watch the BoJack one again.
Yeah, BoJack one is fine. I think Steven Universe has a couple of good winter episodes, like Winter Forecast. Maybe the OKKO Black Friday one is a little.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah. So there's other stuff out there, but yeah, this one is it's a piece for sure. I'll probably end up watching it again at some point. But yeah, so I think that concludes our thoughts on Neo Yokio. If you want to catch up on other pieces of content that we've covered here at Overly Animated, you can do that at overlyanimated.com. You can also join us on Discord if you want to chat with us about animation there at overlyanimated.com/Discord.
Yeah, I'm Bergdorf-Chan now. God, that was terrible.
You got out.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, me.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, we do have a Patreon where you can support us through your hard-earned cash, or virtual money if you have it. But we would appreciate it, as it does help us, give us incentive to keep going in this world. So if you want to do that, you can do that at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Danny. Thanks to our Patreon executive producers, John, Ryan, Stephen, Hugh. And there are plugs. I don't know if there's anybody want to plug their Instagram.
You can follow me pretty much anywhere at CoolMCR if you want.
Okay.
That'll be like on the sidebar of this on the website anyway, like our Twitters and stuff.
Yeah.
You can go on overlyanimated.com if you want to follow us. I am Alex Bonilla _OVA on Twitter if you want to look for that.
Give us those follows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the one thing that this episode was missing was any critique on social media. I feel like everyone does that these days, so maybe good for them that they avoided that piece of stuff.
God, dude, I just watched the Ellen special earlier, and she goes through like a whole tangent on that. Not a fan. Anyway.
Yeah, at this point, that's kind of played out, so maybe good for Neo Yokio that they avoided that. Other shows we cover, maybe better than Neo Yokio. We just finished doing a Voltron coverage. That show ended, and if you want to follow our podcast on that, we have 2 podcasts out about that. Steven Universe is coming up very soon, new episodes, so we'll have podcasts on that very soon. And we also have our annual awards ceremonies, the OVs. Some of us like to call them the ovaries.
Yeah, the ovaries.
Yes, ovaries.
Yeah. So you can look at overlyanimated.com to vote on those. The vote is currently open. Neo Yokio is not nominated for anything, unfortunately. The Christmas special, I don't know if it ever had a chance, but but yeah, if you like other animated shows, you are free to go look at that as well. So, yeah, I think with that, we will be signing off. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you whenever Neo Yokio Season 2 happens to come out. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.